When I get my piece of paper, I'm going to begin by writing my name and teacher code in the corner. And then I'm going to fold my paper in half. And then I'm going to open it back up. So now I have two places. And I'm going to be drawing my corn cob on one side of the fold and the husk on the other side of the fold. So I'm going to just kind of lightly trace my fold so that you can see it on the video. You don't need to do this on your paper though. All right, so we're going to start on the right side of our paper. And I'm going to begin by making like a C shape or kind of a parentheses on the right side of my fold like this. Then I'm going to go to the other side of my paper here, and directly across I'm going to make another C shape, but it's going to be the opposite direction. It's going to be smaller. It's like closing the parentheses. Then I'm going to connect these lines together with kind of a curved line. I like to kind of sketch it out as I'm going. Like so. Now I'm going to move to this side of my paper and I'm going to create the husk of my corn. I'm going to start right in the middle here where my fold is, and I'm going to create a curvy line almost to the end of my paper, but not quite. And then I'm going to make this kind of come to a point, and I'm going to go back. I'm going to create some more parts of the husk. I'm going to move up here a bit, and I'm going to create another wavy line. Maybe this one's a little bit shorter. And maybe this one kind of hides behind this first part, so I'll end it right there. I'm going to just continue to draw I think I need one more down here, maybe a little short one. And I'm going to add a little bit of texture, some more lines in here. Okay, so now I'm ready to create the grid on my corn. And the grid is going to help us make the kernels look all lined up. So you can see in this work of art that I've started, I haven't finished painting it, you can see how the kernels of corn, just like in a real corn cob, are all lined up next to each other. And that grid is going to help us make these kernels look more realistic and help us make them look like they get smaller at the end, like a real corn on the cob. So I'm going to start with my thumb, and I'm going to place my thumb right in the middle on the end of my corn cob, and I'm going to make a little dash under my thumb. Then I'm going to hop over my dash, and I'm going to make another. So I'm kind of spacing this out, so that's probably good there. Then I'm going to go up, up, up. So I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to be tracing over these lines lightly and connecting them to the other side like so. I want these to be fairly light because I don't want them to show, and I'll be erasing them a little bit later. Okay. Now I'm going to use my pinky, and I'm going to use my pinky as a spacer for my vertical lines. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find one of my middle lines and I'm gonna use my pinky as a spacer. So I'm gonna put a little line after my pinky, all the way down. And I'm actually gonna make them a little bit closer together when I get to about here. So I'm gonna make them a little closer, just eyeball it, like that. Now I'm gonna make some vertical lines that go right through my little mark. So I'm gonna do this. Again, I'm keeping it nice and light. I don't need it to be really dark. Now I'm ready to start outlining and making my kernels inside of the grid. So the trick with doing this is making sure that you are touching all four sides of your square. So I'm basically like rounding off the corners of my square, and I'm letting these circles all touch each other. So really, you won't see very much of the pencil if you're doing this correctly. Just rounding off those corners. Let's do this little one up here. Once you're done outlining everything, if you notice any pencil lines that are still showing, you'll want to erase those, but try your best not to erase over your black crayon because it will kind of smudge. So I'm gonna just erase any visible pencil lines that I see left over. In between. And then I'll be ready to paint. So as you're painting today, you might want to choose kind of a color combo for your corn, maybe a kind of a series of like 4 or 5 colors. So I think I'm going to start with this magenta. And when you're adding it to the kernels of your corn, I like to think about kind of spreading out the colors. So I think of each of these as a column of corn, and I'm going to do 1 pink per column, and I'm kind of switching around which one I do. So I'm going here, maybe I'll even skip a column because we really want variety as I go throughout my work. After I finish each color, I'm just gonna add a little water to my brush with the pink still on it, or whatever color you have. And I'm gonna add a little streak of color into my husk. Okay, now I'm ready for my next color. When you're finished with your work, you can put your art on the drying rack and start cleaning up your workspace.